Welcome to my Ruby Slippers. I'm Lily Strong, and if you're new here, this podcast is part of the Lily Strong mission. It's a healing space for anyone who's walked away from betrayal or survived any kind of abuse, or just have found themselves rebuilding a life they never expected to have to start over. Now, if you've listened to this podcast before, you know I'm usually joined by my incredible middle child, Silly. And I have to say, yes, he is my favorite middle child. The two of us share our journey through abuse and recovery from our own unique but overlapping perspectives. And I really, really love this time I have with my child, having our brave, brilliant conversations that are full of raw honesty and mutual healing. And I'm really hoping that we are able to reach out and touch other people who are going through hard things too. But I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I don't want to share everything with Silly. Not because I don't trust him, but because we live the same story from very different vantage points. I was the partner, he was the child. Same abuser, same abuse, but completely different kinds of wounds. And where I am in healing, especially with things like hypervigilance, panic attacks, and I just have a desperate craving for safety. Silly doesn't always understand it. He doesn't feel the same bodily fear or need for control over his environment the way I do. And I think sometimes he thinks my quest for peace and my obsession with safety are a little over the top, a little extra, maybe a little bit dramatic. And I get that. I really do. Because if your body isn't carrying the same level of scar tissue, it's hard to understand why someone else flinches when the phone rings. Why they obsess over things like ringtones or seat placement or noise levels. But instead of trying to constantly explain or defend my needs, sometimes it's healthier to just not share everything, to keep some healing just for myself, to honor where I am without demanding that everyone else fully understand it, because they're not going to be. And I don't consider that being secretive. I think that's showing respect, self-respect. So today, this solo episode is me choosing to speak my truth without filtering it, softening it, or translating it for anyone else's comfort. And I hope that in doing so, I might reach someone else who's going through the same kind of thing. Because this week, in America, it's the 4th of July. Cue the fireworks, the flags, the parades, the endless red, white, and blue celebrations. But if you're anything like me, this holiday can feel off, uncomfortable, even triggering. And that's why this episode is called Fireworks and Flashbacks, the quiet side of freedom. So let me start with a little confession that's probably not going to be too surprising, but fireworks make me flinch. Loud, sudden noises make my chest tighten. My whole body jumps like I'm back in a place that I've worked so hard to leave. Now, let's talk about the irony. Every year on July 4th, we talk about freedom. We wave flags and we grill things. We watch the sky explode in spectacular color. But for those of us healing from abuse, betrayal, or control, that word, freedom, is complicated and even a little bit painful. Because for many of us, freedom wasn't declared with fireworks. It was It was whispered in secret. It was a late night text to a friend saying, I need help. It was packing bags in quiet. It was sitting in the car, gripping the wheel and telling yourself, you can do this. You can leave. So no, I don't celebrate the freedom symbolized by 4th of July like I used to. I don't go to big parties. I don't sit outside for the fireworks. Freedom feels different now. And I choose to be quiet. I reclaim the day by doing things that help me feel grounded, safe, and authentic. Some years it looks like staying in and just watching old movies. Other years I've taken a walk along the beach at sunset. I think most of the time I always say a very silent thank you to the version of me who finally walked away from abuse. Because freedom isn't a holiday, it's an action. It's a right. And for trauma survivors, celebrating quietly is just as valid, maybe even more powerful than any old parade. We're told this holiday is about freedom, about independence, but for survivors of abuse, and especially those like me living with complex PTSD, freedom doesn't feel like explosions in the sky. Sometimes freedom feels like choosing silence over a crowded party, or canceling plans you just didn't end up having the emotional capacity for. Sometimes freedom just feels like not answering the phone. My freedom doesn't show up in a sparkler. It shows up in a soft ringtone. Let me tell you about it. Okay, back when I was married, I had a specific ringtone for my husband. It was the ESPN theme song. You know, the one that goes, da 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 da, bum bum, bum bum, da 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 da. I don't know, I'm probably totally doing it wrong, but it's loud and it's sharp and it grabs attention. And that's exactly why I picked it back then. I needed to know that it was he who was calling, especially if I was at work or out or doing anything where my attention wasn't already on him. It snapped me into alert mode. That ringtone meant I needed to shift into wife duty stat, no matter what else I was doing. Looking back, I would say that song was the playlist for a truth I couldn't name at the time. My time didn't belong to me. My attention wasn't mine, my peace wasn't mine, and neither was my freedom. After I left my ex-husband, I started to notice how jumpy I was, how something as simple as my phone ringing could send me into a tailspin, and that ESPN ringtone, it felt like being yanked out of safety and thrown back into survival mode. So I changed it. At first, I tried to give him a generic ringtone, but that didn't work either because if I didn't know it was him before I saw his name, I could spiral fast. That's part of what complex PTSD looks like, by the way. And when I say spiral, this is what I mean. For me, a panic attack isn't just anxiety, it's a full body shutdown. It starts with my breath. Short, shallow, panicked. And my heart races like I've just run a mile. I'll put my hand up by my neck and I can feel the blood vessels just throbbing. My chest tightens up, like I can't expand my lungs all the way. My hands go numb. My vision gets blurry. I sometimes shake. I get dizzy, nauseated. I feel like I might faint, or, it feels like I'm going to die. And then the thoughts start. So not just my body is reacting, now my brain is racing, looping, making strange thoughts, disconnected. I can't focus on anything. I can't remember what I was doing 2 minutes ago. It feels like my brain is trying to find an escape route that I just can't find. Sometimes I cry without knowing why. Sometimes I freeze and can't move. And then the shame hits. Because once the panic passes, what's left is this deep, raw exhaustion. I feel like I've run a marathon while carrying a backpack full of bricks. My body is sore. My brain is fried. I question everything. And I feel broken. I've had enough therapy now to know that no, I am not broken. But I feel broken. And I have just survived something that could have destroyed me. Let that sink in. If you're a fellow survivor, you survived something that could have destroyed you. I feel tired, like deep bone tired, because my body thought I was in danger and it just used everything it had to survive. So yeah, that ESPN ringtone, that sudden jarring call, it wasn't just an interruption, it was an ambush. That's why I had to change it. I have to build in little moments of control wherever I can, because living with complex PTSD isn't about being dramatic. It's learning about how to keep your nervous system from drowning. Now when he calls, I don't spiral, but I put up layers of safety, layers of peace, layers of me. I changed his ringtone. At first, I searched for ringtones that made me feel powerful. I tried lyrics like, "The next time that he cheats, it won't be on me," or "I'm every woman, Chaka Khan." One of my favorite ones for a while was, "You gotta know when to walk away, know when to run." Each one gave me a little spark of control, a sense that I was choosing how I felt instead of being hijacked by fear. And eventually I found the one that was just right. It's Carrie Underwood's I Am the Champion. And in it she says, "I am invincible, unbreakable, unstoppable, unshakable. They knock me down, I get up again. I am the champion." And I turned the volume down on it so it's soft, it's calm, and it's empowering. It's telling me every time he calls, tells me I am invincible, I am unbreakable. And I need to hear that reminder. So now when he calls, my phone doesn't send me into a tailspin. It grounds me. It reminds me that I've walked away and I don't have to go back. I chased freedom, and now I get to bask in its sunny gloriousness. I changed my abuser's ringtone. And you know what? I even changed his contact photo. It's not a photo of his face or a reminder of his personality. It is just a picture of sand. Just neutral, safe, emotionless. I walked out onto the beach, pointed my phone down, and took a picture of plain, forgettable sand. And you know what? That's freedom. Okay, let's get back to the 4th of July. I tend to get off on tangents. So, for trauma survivors, especially those with sensory triggers, fireworks aren't very festive, they're scary. The sound alone can mimic the rush of danger, the booms, the flashes, the suddenness. It's overwhelming. It's unpredictable. And for someone with PTSD, it can feel like your body's being ambushed again and again. Every pop makes your heart jump. You flinch. You breathe shallow. You even brace for impact, even though you're technically safe. And I have no control over these things when they happen. It is all my body in survival mode. But here's something. But here's the thing. You don't have to perform patriotism. You don't have to explain your triggers, and you don't have to feel guilty for not celebrating in a typical way. You get to reclaim this holiday and make it mean something true for you. Maybe that means staying in and watching old movies. Maybe it's taking a walk at sunset with no noise but the waves. Maybe it's journaling, meditating, crying, dancing in your living room. Maybe it's just breathing. Whatever feels safe is valid. Whatever brings you peace is sacred. You don't need to prove your strength by tolerating what hurts you. You've already proven it by surviving. You get to celebrate freedom in a way that makes you feel celebratory. So here's what I'll be doing this year on 4th of July. Not much. Probably something quiet, something grounding, something that reminds me that I am free. Not because someone declared it for me, but because I claimed it for myself. I chose to leave. I chose to set boundaries. I chose to survive even when it was messy. And there were times when it got really messy. And now I choose peace. Thank you for joining with me today. I hope this episode gives you permission to do what you need to do this holiday, to opt out of noise and pressure, to choose yourself, even when it looks different than someone else's perfect day. And I'm really excited to share something new with you, something bold and healing and a little bit rebellious for me. Starting this week, I'll be releasing a weekly message of empowerment called On Wednesdays We Wear Ruby. Why Wednesdays? When I started the Lilly Strong blog, I started the 3 o'clock Wednesdays. It's just a thing I heard a long time ago about some study had been done, and people feel their most vulnerable, they're most exhausted, they're most afraid, their most ugly time of the week on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock. It's the messy middle of the week, and all the lies that we've been told are starting to creep back in. All the things that are saying you're too much, you're too sensitive, you're imagining things. It all starts to get a little stronger on Wednesday. So when I first started this blog in 2021, I wrote a rather rambling article all about why 3 o'clock Wednesdays became a thing for me. I wanted to share it with you, so I pulled it out today. And okay, so I'm really embarrassed by how unconcise it was. So I decided to give y'all a summary. And to get that summary, I threw my original article into ChatGPT and asked it to condense the information for me. And ta-da! This is the result. Now, I do use ChatGPT for all sorts of things. It's a pretty handy tool for story organization, for outlines, title ideas, headlines. So, yeah, that little bot friend of mine, I think, did a pretty good job of nailing my style. But here's another thing I wanted to keep secret from Silly because Silly hates ChatGPT. So, I'm going to read you the summary. Y'all can tell me what to think, and don't tell Silly. Okay. Hey there, beautiful friend. Yes, you. And between the yes and the you, there is an M dash. I hope you actually heard that second word, though. Beautiful. Because that's how I see you. You are full of strength, wisdom, and a one-of-a-kind of magic the world desperately needs. And today I want to tell you how that belief led me to start Lilly Strong and why Wednesdays have become such an important anchor in this journey. So let me rewind just a bit. Okay, yes, that totally sounds like me. Years ago, I came across this random article. M dash. One of those little trivia pieces that lodges in your brain and never leaves. It said women tend to feel their worst. M dash. Most tired, most vulnerable and unattractive. M dash. At 3:00 p.m. on Wednesdays. Midweek exhaustion kicks in. The weekend feels forever away, and we're just running on fumes. At first I thought, okay, quirky fact, but then I started to notice it, how drained I felt by Wednesday afternoon. It's all true. And how often I'd catch friends, coworkers, and even strangers dragging around that time too. That's a little strange. I don't think I would say I'm noticing strangers looking tired. So instead of letting it be a slump, I decided to make it a ritual, a habit, a healing practice. That's when I created what I call 3 at 3. 3 at 3 is simple but powerful. At 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, I take a few minutes to do 3 things. Number 1, affirmation. I remind myself of something I love or appreciate about who I am. Maybe it's my persistence, my sense of humor, or how I care for my son. We are all beautiful in ways we overlook. So this is where I pause and recognize that beauty. Okay, that totally sounds like me. Number 2, grace. I give myself grace. Maybe I was snappy. Maybe I didn't check off everything on my to-do list. Maybe I left dishes in the sink. But instead of piling on guilt, I just let it go. Perfection is a myth. Grace is a gift. Yep, sounds like me too. Number 3, self-care. Then I plan one small act of self-care. It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes it's just hanging twinkle lights in my bedroom or sipping a coffee on the porch. Just something that feeds me, something that reminds me I matter too. And that's it. 3 things at 3 o'clock in about 3 minutes. Quick, easy, doable, and over time, transformative. This weekly ritual became such a lifeline during my healing from betrayal and emotional abuse. It helped me reclaim a bit of myself every week and eventually became the heartbeat of my website and my message to you. Oh, I do like that. So that's why Wednesdays matter here. That's why they're our landing day. Because even if you feel like a wilted house plant, no, that doesn't sound like something I'd say. Because even if you feel like a wilted houseplant by midweek, you still deserve care, affirmation, and grace. So if you're listening to this right around 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, pause for a second, take a breath, and do your 3. And if it's not Wednesday at all, well, you've got full permission to love yourself right now, anyways. So I just wanted to share with you about why Wednesdays have become such a big thing for me. At lillystrong.com, we stand for healing after betrayal. Whether you've been emotionally drained, spiritually shamed, financially controlled, or broken down, you're not alone. And we have stories and articles to help you feel that you are not powerless. If you've listened to our podcast, My Ruby Slippers, you know that my adult child and I are walking a very personal yellow brick road together. On Wednesdays, We Wear Ruby is our newest chapter. Every week, I will post a short, powerful message filled with truth, hope, and one strong point to get you through the rest of the week with your ruby power intact. So join me on Wednesdays and put on your metaphorical ruby slippers. And remember who the hell you are. Wear your ruby, honor your heart, and embrace your freedom. Until I talk to you guys next time, just remember, like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. And home is wherever your body feels safe.